Okay, we'll start measurement of time and simple pendulum. Now first of all, what is a simple pendulum? Any heavy object, say a piece of stone or a metallic ball, and if it is suspended with a massless, means very negligible mass and inextensible string. Inextensible, so that means it should not be elastic. So massless and inextensible string, and if a heavy mass is suspended in this manner, then we say it is a simple pendulum. Where this heavy mass, this is known as the bob, and this is the string. The effective length of the pendulum. Now the length of the pendulum, generally we say effective length, it is symbolized as L. It is taken from the center of the bob to the point of suspension. So it's not from here, from the end, the length. So that means this is the length of the pendulum, you can say. So we say this is the effective length of the pendulum, and that is in fact represented by L. So that is effective length and that is called bob. Now one complete to and fro motion is called one oscillation. Now when you just if I disturb this pendulum slightly, then it start oscillating, that we say as oscillation. Now one oscillation means what? When we say that the pendulum has completed one oscillation, now this is known as the mean position of the pendulum. Mean position. The initial position is known as the mean position. And the maximum height that the pendulum goes to that point, so that point is called the extreme position. So naturally the pendulum will oscillate in this way, and suppose the bob came here, so it will go there, and then again it will come here. Right? So let this position, mean position O, this extreme position, let it be A, and this extreme position, let it be B. Now one oscillation means from O to A to B, and B back to O. So that means one oscillation. Understand? So from O, if you disturb, it will go this extreme position, then it will come extreme position, and then back to the mean position. Understand? So that is called one oscillation. So this journey is called one oscillation. So that's oscillation. Now the time taken to complete one oscillation, that is called the time period. So that is symbolized as T. So far we have seen this is the effective length, the symbol as L, right? Then the time period of the pendulum means the time taken to complete one oscillation. So one oscillation means from O to A to B, and B back to O, and that is called one oscillation. And the time taken to complete one oscillation is called time period, and the unit, SI unit of time period is second. So if I say the pendulum, the time period of a pendulum is 2 seconds, that means the pendulum is taking 2 seconds to complete one oscillation. Next is frequency. Now what is frequency of oscillation? Now frequency of oscillation means frequency symbolized as F, and frequency of oscillation means the number of oscillation completed in 1 second. So in 1 second the number of oscillation, that is called the frequency of oscillation, and the unit of frequency of oscillation is per second, second to the power -1, and generally we term it as hertz. Okay, HERTZ, the name of the scientist, and the symbol is this. Okay, capital H, small letter Z. So it is hertz, the frequency of oscillation. Now we can get a relationship between time period and frequency, because you know that time period means time period means what? Time taken. Time taken to complete one oscillation. So therefore, if I say the time period of a pendulum is t second, that means what? That means what? In t second, number of oscillation is how much? 1, because time period t second means the time taken to complete one oscillation. So if a pendulum is having the time period of t second, then we say in t second the number of oscillation is 1, and therefore in 1 second, what will be the number of oscillation? The number of oscillation will be 1 by t, and the number of oscillation in 1 second is known as frequency, and therefore finally we can say that f equals to 1 by t, or we can also say that t is equal to 1 by f. Okay, understand? Next is the amplitude. Amplitude is the maximum displacement of the bob from the mean to the extreme position. So you can say this height is called the amplitude, the maximum extent of the bob from. So we can say the displacement of the bob is from this position to this position. So therefore we say this is the amplitude. So that is called the amplitude, the swing, in fact, you can say. So if the pendulum goes here, then the amplitude becomes this higher, more. So, and the unit of amplitude is symbolized as A, and the SI unit of amplitude is meter. So amplitude is meter. Okay. Okay, next is factors affecting the time period of a pendulum. Now it is experimentally seen that the time period of a simple pendulum is directly proportional to the square root of its effective length. So T is directly proportional to square root of the effective length of the pendulum. So that means what? More the length of the pendulum, more is the time period. So try to understand. That means what? Now suppose this is a pendulum and this is another pendulum. Now this is L1 and this is L2, and this is T1 and this is T2. The time period of this pendulum is T1 and time period of this pendulum is T2. Now since here you can see that L2 is greater than L1, therefore T2 will be greater than T1. That means the time period of this pendulum will be greater and the time period of this pendulum will be less. So that means this pendulum will take less time to complete one oscillation, and this pendulum will take more time to complete one oscillation from mean position to the extreme to this extreme and then mean. So that is one oscillation. So this pendulum will take a greater time, more time to complete one oscillation. So since its length is more. So that is the first one. The time period is directly proportional to the square root of its effective length. Okay. Next, time period is also inversely proportional to the square root of the acceleration due to gravity of that place. Square root of the acceleration due to gravity. So that means it is inversely proportional. So that means higher the value of g, lower will be the time period, less will be the time period, and vice versa. So these are the two factors on which the time period depends. So remember, the time period does not depend on any other factor. I can only change the time period of a pendulum if I change the effective length of a pendulum. So if I want to increase suppose this is a pendulum, I want to increase the time period, I will increase the length. and if I want to decrease the time period, I will decrease the length, because acceleration due to gravity is not under my control, so it's depend upon from place to place. But try to understand, now these two pendulum, their length is same, so therefore their time period will also be same. Understand? Since their length is equal, same, their time period is also same. Now suppose in one of the pendulum, if I now change into a heavy bob, then also the time period will remain same, because the time period depends upon only length, it does not depend upon mass. And not only that, the time period also does not depend on the amplitude. You try to understand. Now suppose this is a pendulum, if I slightly disturb, then the amplitude will be less, right? The amplitude will be less. Now suppose here the time period is 1 second. Now for the same pendulum, if I give a greater push, then the amplitude will be higher, right? The amplitude will be higher. Now also the time period will be same. So it's not that since it is going to a higher distance, it will take more time now. The time period remains same. The time period does not depend on amplitude. So the time period depends on length and acceleration due to gravity. The time period does not depend on mass of the bob. The time period does not depend on the amplitude of the pendulum. So you have to, it's very important. So you have to remember this. Okay. Now from here, now from this 1 and 2, if I combine this 1 and 2, if I combine, we can combine, no, this is variation sums, these are called in mathematics in class 11 and 12 you can learn that we can combine, and by combining this I can write it in this way, because L is directly proportional and G is inversely proportional, so T is proportional to this, T is inversely proportional to this. If I combine this, it becomes this, and now therefore T now equals to, because I am forming an equation, I am forming a formula, so now T equals to 2 pi root over L by G. So this is done by calculations. Here this pi is the proportionality constant. This is called the proportionality constant. You know, when we want to convert a proportion into equal sign, then we have to multiply with a constant number. So this is the proportionality constant you learn in higher classes. Here pi is the proportionality constant, and you know the value of pi is 22/7, or we can say 3.142 approximately. So that's the value of pi. Okay. About anything about proportionality constant, I can explain you this way also. You know, this is a circle and this is the radius of a circle. You can understand about what do I mean by this proportionality constant little bit. Now it is experimentally found that the area of a circle is directly proportional to the square of the radius. Area of a circle is directly proportional to the square of the radius. Now if I convert this proportional into is equal to, I have to multiply with a fixed number. By experimental it is done. So that fixed number here is pi, and therefore you know this, that area of the circle we generally write it as pi r square. So here pi is the proportionality constant. Here also pi is the proportionality constant. In fact 2 pi, 2 is also a constant number, and pi, so here pi is the proportionality constant. So this is the expression we use for calculating the time period of a simple pendulum. Okay. Okay, now we'll understand the graph of T square versus L. Now, just now we have seen that the time period is directly proportional to the square root of L. and therefore we can also say that t square is proportional to L. Now if I take different lengths pendulum, okay, so this is L1, L2, L3 and L4. Sorry, well, let us this way. So suppose this is the length of the pendulum and this is t square, time period square. So the first value I got L1, the second value L2, third value L3 and fourth value L4, and by this we are calculating the time period and the value of T1 square, T2. These are different time periods because the length of the pendulum is changing. Understand? I am taking different lengths pendulum. First I take a certain pendulum whose length is L1, so its time period is T1. Then I take another pendulum, or I change the length of the pendulum L2, then I get a different time period T2, then L3 T3 and L4 T4, and like this. So we can get different values, and with these values if I plot a graph, then I'll always get a straight line, because it is directly proportional. So anything which we have a directly proportional, we always get a straight line. So we'll draw the graph by taking the value of t square along the y-axis and the value of length along the x-axis, and experimentally by plotting different values of length and time period, we'll get a straight line. Now suppose at a certain length, say L1, the time period is this is the time period T1 square, and another certain length L2. So this is the point, and when the length of the pendulum is L2, the time period is T2, so I am getting T2 square because I require T square and L. Now if I want to get the slope of this graph, slope of t square versus L graph means what? The perpendicular by base you have done in displacement time and velocity time graph. How to find the slope? Slope means perpendicular by base, so I have to find the slope of this line between this point and this point. So what should I do? I'll extend this line, and then I'll get a triangle, a right angle triangle. So PQR, I'll get a triangle, and I want to get the slope of this triangle, and slope means it's perpendicular by base. So here slope means PQ by RQ, right? Now PQ means this length. Now try to understand, this length actually means what? It is T2 square minus T1 square, because this length is what? From this is 0 origin. So from here to here it is T2 square. From here to here the length is T1 square. So this length is T2 square minus T1 square. So this is T2 square minus T1 square. So this length, the perpendicular. And similarly the base will be L2 minus L1. So this base will be L2 minus L1. So L2 minus L1. So this is how we get the value of the slope. Now it is always found that the slope of this t square versus L for any pendulum of any length, the slope is always constant. The slope is always constant, and the value of the slope will be always be equal to 4 pi square by g. So whatever value I will get, by dividing this, that value will be equal to this value, because this is also constant. You see pi is equal to 22 by 7 or 3.142, and g is equal to 9.8 meter per second square, or approximately 10. So pi means this value, g means this value, and this is 4. So always the value will be constant for any type of pendulum. For any pendulum I draw a t square versus L graph, and if I from the t square versus L graph, if I get the slope of that graph, the slope of the graph, the value of the slope of the graph will always be equal to 4 pi square by g. So finally, the advantage of this graph is that from this graph we can calculate the value of g. We can calculate the value of g at this place, because from here we can see g equals to what? G is equal to 4 pi square by slope of t square versus L graph. So this is the significance of t square versus L graph. So you can understand from time period, from the length of the pendulum, from the time period of the pendulum, we can draw a graph. From the graph we can get the slope, and from the slope we can get the value of g of that place. So g is always equals to 4 pi square by slope of t square versus L, because so far what I have seen, because the slope of this graph is always constant and the value of the slope is always 4 pi square by g, and therefore we can say that g equals to 4 pi square by slope of t square versus L graph. Understand? Very important question. Sometimes they ask what is the significance of this t square versus L graph, or how can we get the value of g from the t square versus L graph. Then your answer will be this: if we get the value of g by calculating that g equals to, from this relation, g equals to 4 pi square by slope of t square versus L, and slope means we get the slope in this way. Okay. Now we know that t is directly proportional to square root of its length. So this means what? Greater the length, more is the time period. A pendulum clock, a pendulum clock, in a pendulum clock, the pendulum is a compound pendulum, and the whole pendulum system is made up of metal, generally like brass or steel. Now nowadays we all have modern clocks, so they are battery operated or but in olden days, or even some 20-30 years before, there was only a pendulum clock, and which run without a battery. Okay, just mechanically it used to run. Now during that time what happens, the pendulum clock generally goes fast in winter and slow in summer. It is due to the fact that in winter what happens, the pendulum contracts, so the size of the pendulum decreases. So that means the length decreases. Length decreases means time period decreases. Now time period decreases means what? Now the pendulum will complete more oscillation in a given time. So therefore the clock goes fast. Because now if you take a normal pendulum clock, this pendulum is known as seconds pendulum. Now what is a second pendulum? A seconds pendulum is a pendulum whose time period is always equals to 2 seconds. A second pendulum is a pendulum whose time period is equal to 2 seconds. So in a pendulum clock we have a seconds pendulum. So that means that second pendulum, the time period of the clock is 2 seconds. So that means it will complete one oscillation in 2 seconds, and that means it will complete half oscillation in 1 second. And with this oscillation, the needle is setted. The minute hand. The minute hand, class from 12, 1 to and back to this, the minute hand, in 1 minute it goes 60 times. So that means what? When this pendulum completes half oscillation from here to here and here back to here, how much time it takes? 1 second. Again from here to here and back to here, how much time it takes? 1 second. And therefore to complete this full oscillation it takes 2 seconds. Now the clock is fitted, the minute hand of the clock is set in such a way such that when the pendulum goes half, the minute hand tick 1 second. Again when it goes this half and come back, again it goes another, because the time period is 2 seconds. So the pendulum is taking 2 seconds and the minute hand is also moving 2 seconds. Right? Now suppose the pendulum decreases, the length of the pendulum decreases. Now the time period has decreased to 1 second. Suppose. That means what? Now it will do this half oscillation in half second. Right? It will complete half oscillation in half second now. But the clock will show 1 second. Because it is calibrated in such a way such that when the pendulum moves from here to here and come back to here, the minute hand will move by 1. But actually now the pendulum is taking only half second instead of 1 second, because it is due to contraction. So that's the reason, when the time period is less, the clock goes fast, and conversely when the time period becomes more, the clock goes slow. So in winter what happens? The length contracts, the time period decreases, and the clock goes fast. But in summer, due to expansion, the length will increase. Length increase means time period will also increase. Time period will increase means now the pendulum will do less oscillation in that given time, because the time period has increased now. It takes more time to complete that much oscillation, and therefore the clock goes slow. Okay. Similarly, T is inversely proportional to G. That means if the value of G decreases, the time period will increase. And this is the Earth's surface. As we go higher and higher from the Earth's surface, the G decreases. The value of G decreases. Similarly, as you go underground, means inside the Earth, mines, then also the G decreases. So that means the value of G decreases with altitude and depth from the Earth's surface. And as the G decreases, the time period will increase. And as the time period increases, the clock will go slow. Hence, a pendulum clock goes also slow when it is taken to mountains or mines. So that is the reason. Understand? So finally, we have some relation. The first relation is that T is equal to 2 pi root over L by G. Now this one we'll use all for numericals. And generally for calculation of numericals, we do squaring both sides. Then this becomes T square is equal to 4 pi square and then L by G. And now we put the values. Okay. This is the first. The second relation, we can also say that T1 by T2 will be always equals to L1 by L2, square root of L1 by L2. These are for two different conditions. So when the time period is T1, the length is L1, and when the time period changes to T2, the length is L2. Now out of this 4, if you know any 3, you can get the fourth value. Similarly, so this is number 2. The third one is T1 by T2 will be root over. Now this will be G2 by G1. Because that's inversely proportional. So therefore G2 by G1. So that's the third one. And fourth one, you already know T is equal to 1 by F. Okay. And then there another important sums come. It's given in your example that calculate the time period as an effective length of a seconds pendulum. So just now I told you that seconds pendulum means the time period will be equal to 2 seconds. Now from there, this we can get the effective length. T is equal to 2 pi and root over L by G. So we get T square is equal to 4 pi square and L by G. And time period is 2. So here we will get 2 square, that is 4, and this is 4, and pi means suppose I take 3.142 or 3.14 also, okay, 3.142, and then L, and G means 9.8. So when we calculate this, finally we get the length of the Sagan's pendulum as approximately this much meter, approx. And you understand 0.994 meter approximately, it is more or less 1 meter, understand? 1000 1 meter is 0.9 meter, 0.994 meter means approximately 1 meter. So you can say that the effective length of a Sagan's pendulum is approximately equal to 1 meter. So understand? So therefore this part is complete now, okay?